Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Wicked Art. It's Wicked here, and it is Fun Draw Friday. So, today, for fun, I thought we'd do a little bit of a. Excuse me, I got the hiccups. A little bit of a graffiti art today. So, I figure we're just going to choose a random word, and then we're just going to do something. Um, they just make it graffiti esque. So, I chose the word bomb. So, we're going to start by making the letter B. Now, when it comes to graffiti style letters, there's all different kinds of ways to do it, but the part is you want to make it like um, angular with different parts to it. So think of like a bubble letter, but we're just kind of making it fancier with more movement in the line work. So, like, I'm taking the letter B here and heavily stylizing it in order to give it that graffiti feel. So I'm just going to lightly go through right now and just kind of sketch out what I have. So let's go kind of keep this angled. Be there. And you can even kind of change the shapes that you're going for. Okay, so with the word bomb, I obviously want to put a bomb, some kind in there. So we're going to do kind of a simplistic, kind of cartoony, stylized bomb in here. We gotta make sure it's not too crazy. Be able to fit everything on here as well. So you want to kind of have like some overlap to what you're doing. So I'm kind of like just sketching and judging what size to make this. We're going to go about that size. Get all that off of there. Okay. And then we're going to do kind of like an old-fashioned cartoon bomb here. So I want to kind of draw this 3D cylinder here for the top of the bomb. I'm going to put another one on here to be kind of like the wick of where the bomb is lit at. And we can kind of put these jagged lines in here. for our wick. It'll be kind of like our string. I'm trying to make this flame a little bit of a curve shape to it. And then if you've watched my channel for any number of time, you'll know I like skulls and stuff. So we're going to put like a little skull. Right there. And we can do like the old-fashioned like symbol for death for it. Kind of like you used to see in the cartoons where they have like a poison bottle and they have that little crossbones symbol on it. Like that. Put like a reflective circle on there. Okay, and then the other thing that's important is when we do the letters, we want to give them some depth to it. So when that comes out, let's bring it down this way. So like right in here, like right in there. We can come down to this bottom side here. Kind of close that off like that. And then again, the key thing is you want to make sure that you have some overlap. So I'm going to move on to letter M here. And again, just thinking about angles and things like that kind of help. But you also have to think about like how thick you want everything to be. Let's bring it up just a little bit more. Come down this way with it. And then right along, we'll kind of come out. We'll curve our M. Let's put a little bit more to it. Like that. We'll line up with the center here. Again, just try to put different angles and things. Let's make it go. I want to try to make it go behind. Right here. Have it touch. And then we want to kind of do the same thing when we have a little bit of thickness to it. Right in there, I'm going to kind of drop off the edge there, and then down in here, kind of do the same. And we'll have more of a major drop off here. And then I want to leave like a tiny bit of an opening there on the M, as well as down here. Okay, and then I'm going to do another B. And I'm just going to simply draw that the same way that I did the last one. So let's see, we're going to come out the bottom here. We'll come out and go up at an angle like that. And again, I'm just going to come in here, get that same kind of shape going. Let's make it a little bit bigger. And then we want to do the same. We kind of come down. Like that. Okay. And then the next thing I'm going to do is we're going to see if we can kind of give it like a background type deal. So I'm going to kind of sketch out this kind of almost comic booky kind of explosion. And then gotta be able to fit everything on here. Like that. Okay, so that takes care of the sketchiness issue. So I want to go around and do some things to make it pop. I like, especially like adding like the thickness to it. like inside of the B, that'll just be a solid black line in there. What I'm gonna do to make it a little bit easier is like those places that just need to get filled in, I'll probably just use a marker for. That way I don't burn through this ink. But this outer edge of the letters though, I do want to thicken those up. Like that. And just give it some edge thickness to make the letters pop a little bit more. So I'm just going to continue. And continue around to the front. Now once I get to this part, where I've got the big shadow drop, again, I'm just going to fill that in with a marker to make my life a little easier. So I can thicken up this little bit of a rounded edge right here. And go down. Just kind of trace over that. Okay, I want to get this line. Maybe thicken the curve here. Alright, so that'll make it stand out a little bit more when we're done. Now we want to do the same thing. The actual bomb itself, especially the outside portion, you want to make thicker. So like I could thin that there and then grow the thickness on the way up. Like that. And do the same thing around here. Thicken up that edge and then thin it as we go that way. Then we can have some like kind of break. A break in it right there so it's not completely touching. And again, just kind of thicken up the outside portion. You just want to be careful that you don't, overdo so that it takes away the roundness of it. We can just do nice solid lines for the inner track. And just make sure we kind of keep the shape there. And we're going to take it down. Across. And do the same thing there and just kind of round it out. Just like that. Okay, so same thing here. Probably this backside edge is going to get a little bit thicker. You put a little roundness to it. Make it thinner at the top. And then inside of here, you can thicken that up just a little. And kind of break it up, keep it thin right in there. And I can get my flame. Curve that around. Just like that. Okay. Now, if you notice, I didn't really fill in the circles on here. It's not really necessary with what we're going to do to it. Again, we want to go through these letters. Make sure we thicken those up. Now again on the part with the drop shadow. Don't need to fill those in quite yet. I can just do that with a marker later. But if you have enough ink in your pen and you want to go for that, then by all means. So I'm just going to keep going around. And then I'm only going to do that with these letters. The outside thing I can actually just thicken with a marker as well. And you just always kind of think of ways to save on burning through inking. Especially if you're living on a budget. You may not want to burn through ink super fast. So let's get this inside track. Thicken that up some. Keep that opening. And close that off that way there. We want to thicken that outside right here. Just have that all connect. Let's do this. When we go to this middle, let's make a tiny little triangle mark just so we can have a breakup of that straight line there. And then again, I'm going to shape our B the same way. Just thicken up that outside edge. Try to keep it even. May not be perfect, but that's okay. Again, I'm going to leave this part up to just filling with marker. Same thing with this bottom part of the B here. Definitely want to thicken that up. Down here on the curve. Just kind of have that fade out. Right into there. And I'm going to go around and knock this out. Again, just to give us an outline. Like that. Okay. So next part I'm going to do is I'm going to get this little piece of cardboard. You can use a magazine, whatever you got that you don't care gets a little bit of some marker on it. But that way it doesn't bleed through on your paper. And I'm going to pull out my Ohu markers. And I'm going to do black for 120. Okay. Now, I'm going to start with just the simple inside track. And just fill that in. And do the same thing with the outside edge as well. And just continue around. Just fill that in. Now you could use just a basic Sharpie marker if you wanted to. If you don't have these kind of markers, you can use a black Sharpie on that. Just make sure it's nice and solid when you fill it in. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do, we're going to still continue with the black, but I want to kind of do this in a way that it's not going to mess with the overlay. So we want to kind of have a reflective um, edge almost. So I'm going to keep this really close, and that's why I'm using this kind of like chiseled in. So if you have like a fine tip, you may want to use that. But even like down throughout here, I'm going to want a little bit of reflection because I don't want it just to seep in black. Now, of course, if you want to, you can make this bomb whatever color you want it. It could be a purple bomb or whatever. It's completely up to you, but I'm just going for a traditional black bomb look. Now, the key thing is we still want to show some of that separation, right? So I'm going to have a reflection. That works down that way. Okay, we can leave a little bit of a skip here. Just run that underneath. And see how that gives us more reflective area. Just going to finish coloring in around the skull, as well as inside. On the eye. Okay, again, just going to continue around the skull. Okay, and again, don't want to lose too much. By having it be all black. So we can think about another reflective spot we could put in there. And then of course have our edge reflection. Kind of like that. So see how that's kind of making it come out more? I definitely want to get that reflection to continue down here on the edge by the bones. So we leave a little bit of an opening down there. leave one down here at the bottom, see what that looks like. I think we'll just close that one off all the way. Okay, then I gotta work up and finish on this top. Now I do want a tiny reflection right there up at the top. And we'll just continue filling that in like that. And then we want to kind of work the same down along the edge here. Keep it nice and thin, rounding it out towards the front like that, and that gives us our nice little bomb shape on that. Okay, so now I can continue down to my M like that. Come in here. Be very careful not to fill in those spaces that we wanted to open. So we kind of leave those two tiny openings right there. And we completely forgot about this edge. Let's go back. And we just fill that in that way there. Now I can come over to the B. Again, we're going to fill in those holes. It's nice and black. Okay, so we're going to get closer. Let's fill in this bottom hole here. Again, we'll just get the drop shadow on the B. And we're going to use the black marker for one other thing, and that's to thicken up the outside explosion edge. Okay. So I'm going to come down here. And we are going to thicken that up. Take your time so we can keep things somewhat even looking all the way around. Okay, so you can see that's giving us a little bit of an edge. You gotta be careful because you can see how I kind of messed up there. Made it thick, or I should say thicker than what it should have been. Just make sure you're always in a place where you can see. Every angle that you're coming from. This stuff's permanent, and you don't want to mess that up. Okay, so that's going to do it for our black, right? So next thing I want to do is we're going to add color to the flame. So first thing you got to remember is it's hotter in the middle, and then as it gets out, it gets lighter or darker. Okay, so like these lower regions here, I'm just going to color in with an orange. Okay, then I might come in with a yellow. Let's see. Use this pastel yellow, see what that looks like. Now again, as I've said before, I'm still learning myself with alcohol markers and what works and what doesn't, so we'll get as close as we can. Matching these up. So we just used an orange. I'm going to use this marigold. It's a 24 at Ahu set. And I'm just going to lightly go over that yellow just a little bit. And use the other side. Okay. Now, before we do any of the other colors, what I want to do is now take my eraser. I want to very carefully go around, clean up some of that sketchiness just so it's not there, number one. But number two, it doesn't really smudge our colors as we put them in. And that way all that sketchy line work from your pencil won't be there anymore. Okay, so it's about as cleaned up as we're going to get with that. So now we have to start thinking about things like color theory, things that are going to help us So first thing I want to do is I do want to make sure that this is a brown color, just because it is the wick of it. Then we got to start thinking about what colors are going to make this stand out. Do we want contrasting colors? Do we want them all to fit together? So what I think we're going to do first is I'm going to get a warm gray. Let's see if I can find one that's actually working today. Be nice. Okay, and we're going to put in a little shadow work on here. Okay, so I have all of my shadows falling to the right. Okay, but there are places where we can add in a further treatment, and I'm just using a GG5 green gray. But it's just going to give it a little bit more. For when it's all said and done. So I'm going to make this a little bit thicker through here. Just like that. Okay. So same thing. We want to kind of lean towards the side that the actual drop shadow's on. And what this is essentially it's just our shadows. And then we'll go over that with a color. And we'll go ahead and run that down from the top there. And we don't want to forget a little piece right here, as well as our shadow that falls in here. like that. And then the B, we're just going to pretty much just repeat the same thing. And again, I'm using alcohol markers so they will kind of blend easier. If you're just using regular markers, just color it in solid. You can test out the gray marker if you want, see if that'll actually do it. I'm honestly never just done Crayola markers to see if they'll blend as well. But like I said, it's a good time to experiment. Give it a shot. See if they'll blend over the top of each other. Okay. So what I'm going to do is we're going to do contrasting colors. So I'm going to go with a red on this. All right. So let's see. I'm going to use this rose red, which is a number 3 in the Ohu set. I'm going to use the wider edge, chiseled part. I'm just going to color that in. Just make sure you're very careful not to go outside your edges. And see, by adding that gray in there, it's automatically going to add in a darker gray shadow for us. Okay, now for now, it may not seem like much. It's just a kind of deep toned red, but once we put that contrasting color in there, which mostly, not always, but mostly for red is green. That's why when you see Christmas, it's a lot of green and red, just because those two colors are opposite each other, so it makes it stand out more. So kind of think of it like, you know, the Buffalo Bills football team is red and blue. Those are contrasting colors. The Lakers are purple and gold. Those are contrasting colors. So things that are opposite each other on the color wheel. So again, we're just going to fill that in until we get to that last letter. And you just make sure it's just filled in nice and solid. Like I said, it's important to have a piece of cardboard or just something, a magazine, whatever, underneath it. Don't use paper. You don't want that bleed through in your sketchbook. It'll go through a couple pages. Okay. Now, we're going to go for green. We want to make sure we get a good contrasting green. Not one that's super dark, but enough to make it stand out. Okay, so we're going to go with this number 59, pale green. And we are simply just going to go around and color the whole background green. And what you'll notice as I do that, you're going to start seeing the red start to pop out a little bit more. And that's the whole point of a contrasting color, is it not only goes together, but because they're so far away on the color wheel, it makes the other pop out because it is so strikingly different than the actual foreground color. And be careful as I get close to the bombs, is because I left a lot of those areas white for the reflection. I don't want to accidentally bleed through that and then lose all that white that's in there. Now, in hindsight, looking at the image, is there some other things I could have tweaked? Yeah, I probably could have put the reflections on the letters themselves too, but it's not super important, because what is the point of Fun Draw Friday? It's just to have fun, experiment, try different things. Sometimes we do characters, just depends. But with that being said, let me know down in the comment what you want to see for Fun Draw Fridays, and I will make sure that I will do a video on it. Now, don't get, cray cray. Like, hey, I want to see the entire cast of Full Metal Alchemist. Because, yeah, remember, I try to keep these videos to an hour, hour and a half. Sometimes we'll venture into the 2-hour range. Just depends on how far I'm taking it. But we try to keep it somewhat reasonable. I'm right inside of here. openings are. I'm going to put that bit of green in there. And you can see as the alcohol markers start drying themselves out, again, you can see the contrasting of the colors that are help making it pop off the page. But if this graffiti is not what you wanted to see, that's why it's important to leave a comment. Tell me what you want to see, or else I'm just going to keep winging it and just doing whatever every Friday. You want your voice to be heard, you want that thing that you want drawn to be drawn, let me know down in the comments. It's very helpful. It helps me get you the content that you want to see. Not doing this for me, I'm doing this for the audience. Whatever you want to learn, that's what I'm trying to give you. Alright, so we are almost done with that. Let's fill in this area here. And down here to the corner. Okay. Well, as that dries, I'm going to go ahead and sign down here. But that is going to do it for Fun Draw Fridays. I hope you guys had fun. Like I said, if you like what you saw, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, like. It's going to help me help you. Other than that, I hope y'all had a good time. I hope you had fun. Remember to keep sketching. And I will see you guys next week in the next video. Alright? Bye.